Woo! Okay, we're live. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Okay, welcome back. This is episode 4 of Megan's Coding Corner, where we go over the new Gatsby tutorial. So today we're going to be looking at part 4, which is all about data and GraphQL and all those fun things. So originally we had Kirsten scheduled to come and join us today, but Generosa had a last-minute cancellation, so she is willing to come in drive for us. Kirsten, we'll see you next time, but we love you.
And I'll be
always.
in the chat, so I'll hang out with everybody in chat.
She'll be around.
Yeah, thank you, Kirsten, for stepping in, and I'm excited to do this because this is actually my favorite part, GraphQL. So I wanted to make this badly.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's a good one. Yeah. Okay, cool. So then, Kirsten, I'm gonna kick your video out. Bye. All right, cool. So let's get into it. I guess, Generosa, do you want to recap what we did last time? All those weeks ago.
I don't even remember. What did we do? Did we set up? No, we didn't set up links. I actually don't remember, Megan.
Last time was plugins. So we looked at the Gatsby plugin image, the new image plugin.
That's right.
And we added a couple of static images to our site. There's more dog photos now.
That's right. Now I remember.
Yeah,
and we also looked at the different attributes for the plugin, where we can do some like a preview of the plugin. If your connectivity isn't that strong, you get a preview. So you can choose SVG or some. I'm looking at the tutorial now because I'm just trying to get my head around it.
Oh yeah, here I can add your screen.
But I remember doing that because we finished this quite quickly. So we did a little bit of like experimenting on what
last time was a fast one. But if you've got if anybody missed the first one or missed the last session, you can go on YouTube. Actually, let me drop a link in the chat. We've got a YouTube playlist that's gonna have all of the episodes for this series, so you can relive the fun over and over again.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so today what we're going to do is we're going to do part 4. So this is all about GraphQL and Gatsby's data layer. So if you scroll down a little bit, there's a picture.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, the cool thing about, one of the cool things about Gatsby is that you can use data from multiple sources. So different places, like different websites or tools, are built to handle different kinds of data well. If you are writing blog posts, WordPress is a really great option for that. If you have a store with product data, Shopify is a good platform for that. So all of these different sources have like different specialties that let you put your data in them. And with the GraphQL data layer, this is a tool that Gatsby has built in so that you can pull data from all of those different sources and use them in your app, all in one place, all in your components, without needing to think too much about how to integrate with those other APIs. So this picture shows sort of the process that we're gonna talk about more today. So basically, you've got your GraphQL data layer, which gets built when you build your app. You'll add something called a source plugin. So last time we talked about plugins in general. Source plugins are a particular type of plugin that are specifically built to integrate with these data sources. So you might have one source plugin for talking to your file system, or you might have one to talk to Contentful or Sanity or wherever your data is being stored.
Yeah, and we did the file system last time, I believe, right?
We installed it. We installed it, but we haven't configured it. We're going to do that in this go around.
Nice.
Yeah. So you have source plugins that pull data from a source into your data layer, and then you'll use GraphQL queries. So if you've used SQL, they look similar to that, where you like ask for data and then you get it back from the data layer. And those GraphQL queries, you'll write those inside of your React components, and it'll pull data out of your data layer when your site gets built, and then you can use that data inside of your components.
Yeah, and I think why I like this chapter or this tutorial a lot was GraphQL was there's a lot of mystery behind it. I mean, I knew how to use it, but I think the way you explained what it is and the naming and whatnot really opened my eyes to like, oh.
No, thanks. I am by no means a GraphQL expert, so I did a lot of Googling while I was writing this.
Nice.
But yeah, anyway. I'm glad it was helpful. Hopefully it will be helpful for all of you as well. I see we've got friends in the chat. Hi, John Hansen, artist.
Yeah. Hey, John.
Okay, cool. So if you scroll down a little bit more, so we've talked a little bit about the general process of how data gets into your app, but how do you actually like see the data and interact with it? So Gatsby comes with this tool called GraphiQL, which is really just like a browser tool that you can use to explore the data inside of your data layer. So let's get this running locally.
Okay.
If you open up your code.
Oops, not that. Wrong one. So should I just run this?
Yeah. So we'll just start up where we left off last time.
Okay.
Cool. Run Gatsby develop, and that'll start up your local development server. And then when this finishes, I don't know what that warning is, but when this finishes building, you'll see a message. Yeah. So this message that normally tells you about localhost 8000, where you can see your app, also gives you this. It's 3 underscores. So localhost 8000/3 underscores. And then GraphQL. And if you put that in your browser, boom, this is GraphiQL. Oh yeah, can you make it bigger? That's great. Yeah. So we can talk a little bit about the different sections that you have in this interface. So over on the left, this is the Explorer, where you can look at all of the different, they're called fields, all of the different like pieces of data that you can ask for. In your GraphQL query. And then I guess let's just like toggle some of these things. If you click on some of those fields, see how in this middle section, this is the query editor, where it will basically build up your query as you are clicking on different stuff in this, in the Explorer.
Yep.
Yeah. And then if you hit that play button up at the top, that's going to execute your query, and the results will go in this section on the right. So, yeah, so there's a bunch of different types of fields that you can ask for. All directory, I'm not actually sure what that one does, but if you close that one.
Okay, we'll try another one. Okay.
Which one? Yeah, so you can see there's like all file, and there's also, they kind of go in pairs. So see how at the top, you've got like all directory, and then lower down, you've got just directory. And then same goes for like all file and file, all site and site. Yeah. So the way that these fields are set up is you can either query for one specific file, like one specific, they're called nodes, the like chunks of data in the data layer. So you can either query for one specific node, or you can query for like multiples of a type of node. So like file will give you back information about a single file, and then all file will give you back information about like multiple files all at once.
Cool. Do you know what the color code means? Like there's purple versus...
Yeah. That's a great question. So you'll see that they're all kind of duplicated. If you go back into file, you've got all of these like purple ones with the colons, and then those same fields will be listed down below. The ones down below, if you click on one of those, click on like the absolute path. Yeah. See where it adds it into your query in the query editor.
Yep.
So that's saying like, this is a piece of data that I want to get back in my response. So if you run that, see how now the structure of your GraphQL query is going to match the structure of the fields that you've requested in the query editor. So you can see we've got like inside of that data object, you've got file, an absolute path, and that matches what we asked for before.
Okay.
So if you go up above and then toggle that purple absolute path, the first drop down, see it adds it into a different spot. So what this is actually, it's called an argument. It's an argument that you're passing into the file field to say like, hey, of the files, use these other arguments to like basically filter down what subset of the data that I get. So we'll use this later on when we're trying to build out our blog page, because we'll have to be like, hey, I want to get back this specific blog post. But for now we'll not need these.
So more specific stuff, I guess, if you know what you want, and then the other one is like, you don't really know, you just can ask for whatever it comes back.
Yeah, you'll mostly need these blue ones for now.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a really good question. That's something that trips a lot of people up.
Yeah, me too. Cool.
Same.
All right. Correct. Cool. Okay.
Cool. So what we're gonna do, the sort of general process for using data in your site is going to be first. You're going to add a source plugin so that data can get into the data layer from wherever. Second step is going to be to use this graphical interface to build up the query so you can test out and see like, does this query give me back the data that I'm expecting? And then step 3 is going to be to take that query and basically copy it into one of our React components. So we'll get some practice doing that.
Okay.
So could you go to localhost 8000 without the GraphQL bit? Just so we can see where we left off. Oh, and actually there's a question. Okay, John Hansen, artist. Within the Query Explorer section with the all whatever, why is it, or is it normal to get to drill down to the same endpoints within different query starts? Or is this happening because of the way the author wrote the plugin? I'm not sure that I understand the question. Is it about like using all file versus using file?
Yeah, because I guess this drop down versus this drop down. I don't know.
We can look and see what the difference is. So like if you, let's see, let's go. So inside of this all file field in the Explorer, you can see that the list of fields looks a little bit different from the file one. So file, you can see we've got things like absolute path, name, a bunch of fields that are like pieces of data about a specific file. But the all file one looks a little bit different. So all file, you'll mostly go into this nodes
here
section.
Like nodes.
Yeah. And here, this is like where you see all of the different, all of those different fields about a specific file. If you could maybe give us a specific case to reproduce. Yeah. Okay. No, sorry. I was just reading the chat.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll take a look at this in more detail too in just a minute. So I think once we dive into the actual example, that it'll hopefully be easier to understand.
Okay.
So let's go back to where we are so far, just so that we can refresh where we're at. So we've got a couple of static pages so far. We've got our home page, which has our adorable dog photos now.
And
and then we've got our about page, which has some static content. So what we're going to do now is we are going to, well, sorry, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. What we're going to do now is we're going to add the site title to our layout component. So if you go into your Gatsby config file.
Okay.
So in here, see how there's this site metadata object, and this basically has information about your site, so that when Gatsby builds, it just knows stuff about your site. So here you can see that we've got this title field. So what we want to do is, if you go to a lot of pages, they'll have like that logo at the top that is the name of the site, so that you know where you are. So we're going to add something like that to our site.
Okay.
So this one, I know I listed out those 3 steps for how you get data into your site. This one is a little bit different because you don't need a source plugin. This will happen automatically. But if you go back to GraphiQL, we can skip right to step 2, where we build out our query.
Okay, are here.
So if you can delete that stuff that's in there. Yeah, and the nice thing is that it collapses all of the stuff on the left for you. So the data that we are going to be looking for is going to be inside of site. So it's under the site field. And then if you scroll down to, it's going to be inside of site metadata. So the second one, because we want to add the fields.
Okay.
And then we're going to add title. And then if you run that, you can double check. And then if you look in the result window, this is giving us back the data that we expect. So that's great. So now that we have this query, we're going to pull it into our React component. So because we want this site title to show up on all of the pages on our site, where do you think we should put it?
In the layout.
Boom. Well done. Okay, cool. So let's take a look at that.
Okay, so we're going to layout. All right, layout.js.
Awesome.
Cool. Bring this down.
So now the way that you pull data into components looks a little bit different based on whether or not it's a building block component or a page component. So if you remember back all the way to part 2, you've got in your Gatsby site, you've got page components, which contain the UI for an entire page. And those live in this source/pages directory.
Yep.
And then you've also got what we just decided to call building block components, which are smaller components that you can combine in different combinations to build up either other building block components or page components.
Okay.
So all of that to say that the process is going to look a little bit different for pulling data into a building block component versus a page component.
Okay.
So for this first one, because it is a building block component, we are going to use something called useStaticQuery.
Okay.
So if you go to, maybe go back to the tutorial.
Okay.
There's a little drop down.
Okay, here's a tutorial.
Yeah, so scroll past this part. We did this stuff.
Here, this part?
Yeah. So inside of that purple dropdown, if you toggle that, it will tell you a little bit more about useStaticQuery. So there's 2 parts to this. If you scroll down a little bit more, so the first part that we're going to do is we are going to import useStaticQuery and GraphQL. This GraphQL, you don't have to worry too much about what it is. It's it's a tagged template literal, which basically is like a way of telling a string, like this is the format of this string. And so the GraphQL template tells Gatsby that like, hey, this string that we're about to put in is a GraphQL query. So when you parse it like a GraphQL query.
Cool.
If that didn't make sense, you don't have to worry about it.
So I should add it probably with the link component, right?
Yeah. So we only need one import from Gatsby. So we'll just import all of these things together.
GraphQL. Okay, there we go.
Cool. Okay, and then the next step is to use useStaticQuery. So useStaticQuery is going to return an object that has the results of the query that you ran. So useStaticQuery will take as an input, it'll take a string, a templated string that is your GraphQL query to run, and then it will return the data that it gets from the data layer by running that query.
Okay, so let me add it. I had a question just in my head. Does it matter where you put the query, above or below?
Yeah, so for this one, for building block components, when you use useStaticQuery, you want to put that inside of your component.
Inside. Okay, so in here, in the layout.
Yeah.
So okay.
So you can make a new variable. Yeah, I usually call it data just because it corresponds to the data object from your GraphQL query.
But I can really call it burrito if I wanted to, right?
You could. That's the beauty of variables. You can name it whatever.
Okay.
Cool. So you can see the syntax here. You call useStaticQuery, and then you pass it a templated string. So GraphQL tells it, hey, this string that comes next in these backticks is going to be a GraphQL query. And then in here, you can just copy and paste your
query. This one, right?
Yeah.
So so now where do I start the query? From my query?
Yeah, you'll just do this whole thing. Yep. So the first part is important. That's like a GraphQL thing. It says, hey, this thing that I'm sending you is a query, because there's different kinds of requests that you can send. But we're only going to use queries. Cool. So you can also see that this has a name. It adds a name, my query. You've got two options here. So at a certain point, when Gatsby is building, it's going to try and go through your components, look for all of the queries, and then run them to get your data back. But if you've got components, if you've got queries that have the same name, then it's going to get mad. So you've got two options. You can either delete the names and just not have a name, or you can change the name and make them all unique. So I'll let you pick which one you want to do.
I'm just wondering, why would I not have a name? Or why?
Because then you don't have to worry about it being unique across multiple things.
Yeah.
It's not a huge deal for our site because it's so small, but if you've got like a couple of different headers in different places and they each have a query called header query, then it might get mad.
But I guess the reason to name them is if you have a lot of stuff, you want to know which query was actually maybe slow or whatnot, right? So putting a name.
Maybe.
Or not.
I don't know. Honestly, I've never worked on a site that's big enough for that to be a problem.
Yeah, me too.
But maybe, if folks in the chat, is this a thing that you've ever run into?
Yeah.
Oh, also hello from Portugal. Hi, Portugal.
Hello.
That's cool. Hello.
I don't speak
Hello
Portuguese.
from California.
And hola from Mexico.
Nice.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so let's not use a name for now.
So we've got this data variable now. If you let's console log this out just so that we can see what's in there.
Right here, or does it need
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, just after you've said it. Cool. So now if you save this and then your site we still have the develop server running, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. Yes. We should.
Cool. So
yeah.
if you reload this page and then open your dev tools, you should be able to see, see that object. Can you make the text bigger in here? Does that work?
Yeah. Let's see. Yep.
Ah, sweet. Yeah, so you can see there's this object that we printed out, and that is our data object. So you can see that the structure looks a little bit different from what it looked like in the graphical Explorer. If you go back to graphical real quick.
Right,
so see how this one's got that like top level data object, and then there's also this extensions object. We don't have either of those. useStaticQuery just returns like the object inside of data. So it just starts at site, and then from there, everything looks the same.
Cool.
But that's one thing to know. So now if you wanted to access a specific piece of this data, you could just use the JavaScript dot operator. So like data.site metadata .title, and you can drill down to the different pieces of information like that.
Cool. All right.
So now that we've got this data in our query or in our component, let's actually render this site title somewhere.
Okay, let's do that. So I'm just gonna comment that
so we can do it in two different places. So the first place that makes sense is that title tag. I think it was on line 25 if you scroll down.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the one that shows up in the browser tab. So you can add, I've seen sites, and I know Generosa, you and I were talking about this earlier. I've seen sites that have like the name of the page in the site that you're on, and then they have a pipe character, and then they have
the
like
title.
Yeah.
That query thing. So data, what's it called? Data dot. What is it?
I think it was data. Yeah, data.site metadata.
Metadata.title.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and actually, now I know why it was doing the thing. So Generosa was talking about how when she had tried to do this before. Do you want to describe the error that you're seeing?
Yeah. So here you see this 0.
Yeah. So that is because of the way that like injecting variables in JSX works. So if you go back, if you remember all the way back to, I think it was also part 2, where we talked about injecting variables into your JSX. Anything that gets wrapped in those curly brackets inside of your JSX is going to be evaluated as a JavaScript expression. So what we really want to do, if we actually want to render like the pipe character, that has to go outside of the curly brackets. So what you'll have really is like page title
like
inside of curly brackets. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why that's happening. So now if you reload it, so now what we've told it basically is like inject this page title variable and then render a pipe character and then inject this other data variable.
So it was interpreting the pipe as an expression.
Yeah. Well, it's because the whole thing was inside of the one set of curly brackets instead of having 2 separate ones. I gotta double check the tutorial. Did I?
Yeah, the tutorial, I think
wrong in here.
We didn't.
Oh yeah, no, it's.
Or maybe you fixed it, because I noticed that.
That's okay. Good to know though, because people will get tripped up on that.
Yeah.
Oh, John Hansen Artist says naming conventions for queries has only given me issues and errors when using GraphQL fragments. These demand different names. Interesting. That's good to know. I haven't used fragments before. Maybe that'll be an advanced tutorial someday.
Yeah, GraphQL fragments. I haven't.
Yeah, that's cool.
Either.
Pro tip. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, cool. So now we've done it. We've got our, well, actually, we've almost done it. So we've got this showing up in the browser title or in the browser tab now. Yeah, but it's still not showing up on our actual page. So let's add a p tag that'll just like render the contents on our actual page. So let's see. Probably makes sense to put it above everything. So let's put it, between the title and the nav element.
Okay, so right here. Okay, P. And the same thing, we'll do this? Or just the
you
title?
don't have to do, I think you can do just the title because the page title gets rendered in that H1, wherever that is. Lower down. Okay. I think it's under the nav.
Yep.
Yeah, down there. Okay. Cool. So now if we save this.
Okay, and take a look. There we go.
Ta-da! There it is.
Ta-da! Yeah.
Sweet. So we've got our text showing up. It's not super cute. So let's add some styles.
All right.
Do you remember how to do that?
Do I remember how to do that? Don't I just...
This is good. Check
yeah, I mean, from here, we define it, and then I add the actual style name here, I import it, and then add it here as class name.
Awesome. Yeah. Sounds great. Let's do it.
Okay. So what's the name? What do you want to call it? Page title?
Or site title.
Okay, site title. Okay. And you're the CSS person, so.
Well, I'm just going to look back at the tutorial of what we have in there. Yeah. I think I just changed the font size.
Okay.
To make it bigger because it's the name of the thing.
Was it like?
Let's see. I had it as 3 rem.
Okay. So rem is like relative to something, right?
Yeah, it's relative to like the root font size on your page. The nice thing about using rem is that if people are using like screen magnification because they need to see text bigger, then rem will respect that. It'll get bigger as the like root font size gets bigger.
Okay. So is that all you asked?
I did that. I changed the color to gray just so that it looks different.
Is it color or text? What is the
just color?
Okay, color.
And then gray with an A. I never know the difference between gray with an A and gray with an E.
Gray with an E, yeah.
I don't know if they both work, but
let's see. I'm just curious. Now I'm curious. Gray. Well, didn't. No.
Maybe it's the same. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay,
and then I also made the font weight. I set font weight to 700, just so it's big and bold.
All right. There we go. Any more styling? That's it? Okay, so site title. So now we add it to here as a class name equals site title. Okay. That should
and actually, if you look at the way that you did your other ones.
Oh yeah. Jeez,
so you have to import site title from your CSS file.
Yeah, and I think I need to make it camel case also. Right?
Yep. Yeah. So that happens automatically. You can leave it. You can leave it.
I can.
Yeah. Oh. It is kind of sneaky. It like happens under the hood.
I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's a Webpack thing. It comes from CSS modules, which is it's nice because then you can use the like CSS naming convention in your CSS file and the JavaScript naming convention in your JavaScript file.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a little hand wavy.
Yeah, very. Okay. All right. So I think we've done that, right?
Sweet. Yeah. So if you save it.
Yeah, save it.
Looks good.
Take a look. There it is.
Ta-da! Okay. She's adorable.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. John Hansen Artist also says, what is the best practice in a query when using edges/node as opposed to just nodes? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
We can take a look at this when we get to. We're gonna look at the all file fields in the next little chunk. So we can we can take a look at the differences there. John Hansen, artist, also says, I think absolute CSS sizes should be rem, where items like padding and margin should be EM or maybe not. I've also heard something like that somewhere. I don't know if it was rem versus M or just like rem versus pixels.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've seen that where for CSS sizes for things like fonts and text that you should use rem, and for things like padding and margin you use pixels. I don't know. That's just me vaguely remembering something I read on Twitter once. So
yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
Don't take that as gospel.
Yeah, I've seen that pattern, and I never really like made any like assumption of first font versus. So yeah, I will, because I'm actually going to be looking at a customer's code in a bit. So I'll see if they did that.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Investigate.
Yeah. Yeah. But John, thank you. He gives us a lot of
thanks.
like,
this is great.
Yeah. Always like John's comments.
Yeah.
Cool.
Learning both ways.
Yeah.
Cool. So now we've looked at how to add a component or add a GraphQL query to a building block component. So now we're going to take a look at adding one to a page component.
All right.
So what we're going to do now is we are finally starting on the like blog content of our blog page, of our blog site. So we're going to build out a new page, and it's going to be a blog page.
Okay. So
So make a new file in the source pages directory.
Blog or blogs? Plural or one? Singular or plural?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It'll change whatever the path name is. I think like /blog is what I see a lot of places. So that works.
Cool. Okay.
Cool. So now we're thinking all the way back to part 2. Do you remember how to make a component? How do you define a component?
I have to import all of that stuff. Star as React from React.
Nice. Perfect.
Then I think that's all. Oh, layout, I guess. Yeah. And then I just named the component, right? What is it? A functional component?
So that's step 2.
Yeah, I'm being lazy.
Sneaky.
Yeah. So, it added this. Okay. And we want it to be capital B, but usually you make it export default here, right? Export default.
Yeah, you have to make it the default export.
Yep. That's it, right?
Yeah, there you go. So now you've got the outline. So now, let's see. What do we want to put inside of our blog? Probably the layout component.
Okay, so
that the structure will match the other ones.
Yep. Okay.
Cool. And then if you remember, the layout component is actually going to take children. So
right.
So you'll need like both an opening and a closing tag for that one.
Yeah, I already forgot. Layout. Okay. And then inside I put children?
Yeah, so you can just put a p tag or something, just say like, hi.
Oh. Hi, I am the children.
Benedicta Ray is in the chat. Hello.
So now I have to pass the children up here, right? Yeah.
You don't actually. Children, what you're thinking about, like if you go back and look at the layout component that you defined, that's where you have children.
It's right there.
Yeah, because that's where you actually have to say like, hey, take whatever is in between the opening and closing layout tag and now render it inside of my actual component.
Okay, so
cool.
I don't need the
and then you also, the slash, the like closing tag, the slash goes at the beginning instead of at the end.
That's kind of why it's getting.
There you go. Nice. Okay. Now she's happy.
Yeah.
Cool. So then instead of on line 7, instead of rendering like a children variable, because in here you don't have, it doesn't have any concept of children.
Okay. Yep.
So you can just delete that and put some like text instead. We're going to delete this part in a second anyway. So
okay.
It's just a placeholder. Sweet. So now if you go to, actually, we're going to do one other thing. So now we've created the page for our blog page.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, actually, let's go into the browser and look at what this looks like. So if you so if you go to /blog, you should see, there you go.
Yeah. So it's got all the layout components. Those are the children, right? Page title.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep. So that hi, I am the blog page. That's the children piece.
Yes.
Hello, Freud Plays. Yes, we are answering chat questions. If you have any questions about the data layer things or adding these blog pages or just anything, we're here to help.
Yeah. How to make the best margarita? What ingredients?
You'll have to take that one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now we've got our blog page. So now let's add it to, just for completion's sake, let's add it to our nav bar so that we can click to it. We don't have to keep hard coding it.
Okay, so add another link. LI.
Yeah. So this is inside of our layout component.
Okay. Right. I think that's it. No?
Should be. Yeah.
Yeah. So in theory, it already appeared. Nice. Okay.
Ta-da. Great.
Okay.
Oh, one other thing that I'm noticing, our blog does not have the page title the same way that the other pages do.
Okay.
I think that we might be missing a prop.
Okay. In the blog page itself. Where am I missing it?
Yeah. So see how there when we call the layout component on line 7, we passed in the page title prop.
Yep.
So we'll have to add that on line 6 here. Yeah.
So I just say page title.
Yep. This is the data that you want to pass in.
Equals page title.
Equals, and then whatever you want to set it to. So this will just be hard coded to a string. So you can just say like blog or something like that.
So no curly braces.
Yeah, you don't need them. You could just use regular quotes.
Yep.
Boom.
Okay. Sweet. All right. So there you go. Okay. I forgot. Good.
Nice.
Good. Okay.
Cool. And then real fast before moving on, Freud Plays is having an issue. When I build the Gatsby page that displays an error that isn't shown anywhere else, even when the SSR flag is enabled. Asked on the Discord, but no one's been around to help. Oh, I'm sorry. That sounds frustrating. Can you send like a picture of it to our Twitter, and then we can post it in the Slack, like the work Slack, and see if we can get you some help.
Yeah, or you can also send a message to support at gatsby.js.com.
I think that there's a page. There's like a support page that they want people to use instead of.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Don't listen to me then.
Or maybe not. I don't know. It's your team. You would know better.
Yeah,
ignore me.
Well, there is like in your if you're using Gatsby Cloud anyway, in your dashboard, you can send message support directly. But if you're not using Gatsby Cloud, then maybe it's different.
Okay. Good to know. Thanks.
Yes.
Teamwork. Cool.
Yes.
So now we've got our blog page. Doesn't have any blog posts on it because we don't have any blog posts. So we are going to start making some content.
All right.
We're going to make some empty files that will later have blog posts in them. So it doesn't really matter where you put these things. I like to put them in just like at the top level directory, just put a blog folder in there so that it's outside of the source directory because it's not source code.
Okay.
Cool. So now we've got this blog folder, which is where we're going to put all of our blog posts. And for now, you can just make like 3 posts. So you can name them whatever you want.
And you want them as markdown, right?
Yeah, give them the .mdx extension.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about MDX more in the next stream in 2 weeks. Basically, it lets you use a format called Markdown, which is a lot easier to read than all of this like hard-coded p tags that we've got going on. And it also lets you use other components inside of your Markdown. So it's pretty cool. But for now, we don't need to worry about that. For now, we just have to have some files in there.
Okay. So there we go.
So cool. So what we're going to do now is we are going to render the list of these file names on our blog page. So instead of that hard-coded p tag, we want to tell people these are the posts that we have. And for now, it'll just show the names of the files because that's all we can get access to right now. Okay. But in the next section, you'll learn how to like actually pull in blog posts content. So like the actual words of your blog post.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be really cool. So the first thing that we're going to do is, so the first thing that we're going to do now is configure our first source plugin. So if you go to your package.json, if you think back to, was it part 3? I guess it was part 3. We installed this plugin called gatsby-source-filesystem because, because the Gatsby plugin image needs that plugin to be around to be able to use the static image component.
That's right.
But we didn't configure it. So if you go into your Gatsby config file, and I guess if you haven't installed this, if you're following along, if you haven't installed that plugin yet, in your command line, you can just run npm install gatsby-source-filesystem, and that'll add it to your package.json for you, and then you can pick up from here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to configure Gatsby source file system. So in our plugins array, we're going to add one more. And this one is actually going to look a little bit different. So this is our first plugin that requires some extra configuration options. So when you add this, you're actually going to add an object here instead of just a string with the name.
All right.
And then the format for this is going to look similar for any plugin that needs options. You'll have 2 fields at the top level. There will be a resolve one, and that will take the name of the plugin. So here you can just pass in the string Gatsby.
What's this? Source file system, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I need a comma?
And then a comma. Okay. And then the second object will be, or the second field in here will be an object called options. And that's where you'll actually pass in the configuration options for this plugin.
Okay.
So for Gatsby source file system, we're going to have two options. Sorry. The first one is going to be name.
So name. Okay.
Yeah. And then we can just call this blog.
And it's a string. Okay.
Yeah. And this is going to get passed in to the data layer as a field called source instance name. We can take a look at that in a second. But you really only need this if you're going to like be pulling in data from multiple places. If you had like an images folder and a blog folder and you wanted to be able to separate those two, this is what you would use that for.
Okay. So you would have like several names. So like if I have an image, I'll have another name.
You would actually have like 2 of the entire Gatsby source file system configuration objects.
I see. I see. Got it. Okay.
So then your second option is going to be called path.
So comma right here?
Yeah. So comma and then path. And then this is going to be the path inside of your folder for like how to get to the files that you're trying to source. So because we want to source files out of our blog folder,
right?
You're going to pass in, this is going to be a little bit complicated. You're going to pass in a string, but like the backticks string.
Yeah. With a $sign, right?
Yeah, with a
$sign.
Yeah, so a $sign and then curly brackets to say like inject a variable, the value of a variable in here. And then you're going to do __ dir name. And this is a variable that comes from Node.js that basically says like, hey, take the file, like the folder, the absolute path to the folder on my computer where this file is currently running, and stick that here. And then, so because of where the Gatsby config folder is, that's going to be like our top level Learn with Sully directory.
Okay.
And then within that, we want to source the files out of our blog folder. So outside of, so this is going to be similar to the thing with the pipe before. Like you have to put it outside of the curly brackets.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
so then you're going to do /blog.
Blog. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So this says take the stuff, take the files inside of the blog directory in my project, add them to the data layer, and give them a source instance name of blog.
Got it.
Just to recap.
Yeah. So this __ dir name is always the root. Like
it is. I think it's a little tricky because it depends on where your file is running from.
Okay.
So dir name inside of this Gatsby config file, dir name is always going to be the project directory.
Okay. Let's say the blog was in the source, just for. So then, would the path be source src/blog?
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm understanding. Nice.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Teamwork. Okay. Great. So now we've got this configured. So now when we go into, when you make changes to your Gatsby config, you have to kill and restart the development server.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do
because
that.
I think that's because it only sources nodes once at the beginning. Like when it rebuilds, it's not going to re-pull all of the data from your sources.
Right. Right.
So you got to kill it and start it again.
Yep. Okay. So let's see. Now we have to run a query, right? To get the blogs.
Yeah. So now if you go, now that it's started up again, if you go back to your GraphiQL window in the browser. Cool.
Oh,
so now
we have more things?
Yeah, you can get rid of the old query. So now we're going to look at this all file field. So if you open that baby up.
Okay.
Okay. And this is where, was it John Hansen artist mentioned earlier about the differences between edges and nodes. Right. So if you look there, you can see that you've got an edges field and a nodes field. If you open up the edges field, there's actually also a node field in there.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes a difference which one you use. If you use edges, node, or if you just use nodes. I personally like nodes because it's shorter and it just like takes out one extra level.
Yeah, it looks like it's the same. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and if you just like add the name field to both.
Okay.
So
name here and then name the other name here.
Yeah, if you run this, you'll see that it's the same information. It's just the structure. The structure is going to match what your query field structure was.
You know, one thing that also I was wondering, I expected to get the blog names, but how come I got this, the pit bulls? I'm wondering, where did that come from? I don't remember. It's like it's accessing another.
That's interesting. I don't know. Let's go to, there's one of these fields that's like the path. I think it's maybe relative path.
Yeah. Okay.
There might be an absolute path. Just like add on one of those fields so we can see where that, yeah, let's see where it's coming from.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Okay. Gatsby plugin image. Oh, interesting.
It's the cache.
It's
getting it from the cache.
Let's see. Can you go to the source, what is it? Source instance name. Can you add that field too? Yeah, so it is an image. I guess I'm surprised that the image is coming back because I would have expected it to only pull out blog posts because we only came from like we're only sourcing stuff from that blog directory.
It's sourcing from this. I don't know what that means.
Okay, well, this is a good time to learn about filters. So now we're going to get into using those purple fields. So just to simplify this, can you delete the edges node part, and we'll just use the nodes field. Yeah, you can just collapse the whole edges drop down or do that. Yeah, delete it.
Oh, the
there's many ways to get to the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now if you go to sorry, it's going to be above this. So if you go up to filter, that purple one.
Okay.
So what we want to do, this is where that source instance name comes in handy from when we configured stuff in our Gatsby config. So we're basically going to filter down our response so that we only get posts, we only get files that have a source instance name of blog.
I see.
So if you use EQ for equals and then just type in blog, this I think should work.
It does?
Great.
Cool.
Huzzah.
Nice. Yeah. All right. So that's how to get, so I don't get all that other junk I got earlier. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Doomed anyways adds same sort of deal. We have to put equals blog because that's what we named. That's what we gave the name in our Gatsby config. But yeah, if we had instead given it a name of posts, then you're right. We would put posts in here.
Right. Okay.
Cool. So now we've got a query. Huzzah.
Hey.
Okay. So we're going to go back to our blog page and we're going to stick this in there.
Okay. So I should copy the query, right?
Yes. Copy the query. And then this one, so because we're in a page component now, our data is going to look a little bit different.
Okay.
The way that we pull data into our page is going to be a little bit different. So instead of useStaticQuery, which we did for building block components, we are going to use something called a page query. So actually, can you go back to the tutorial? There's like a little purple drop down, like a collapsible section for page queries as well. It'll be below all of this stuff. It'll be like in the next section.
Okay.
Okay. So we made a new blog page.
Yeah, we're there.
We made some posts. We did this.
We did that.
Yep.
Did that. Okay. Here we go.
Ta-da! Yeah. Great. Look at us. So productive. Okay. So the page queries are going to look a little bit different. You only have to import the GraphQL template tag. And then if you scroll down, there should be an example. So here, the first thing to notice is that instead of putting your query inside of your component, it's going to be outside of your component. And you're also going to export it.
Yeah.
So Gatsby just knows to look for inside of your page components. If you've got a GraphQL, one of these like GraphQL templated strings exported, it knows that's a GraphQL query. I'm going to run it.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the data, and then the data that it gets from that query, it's going to put into your component as a data prop. So it's like instead of everything happening inside of your component, now it's going to like run the query and then inject the data into your component from the outside via a prop.
Nice. Okay.
So a couple of differences.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's do it.
So GraphQL first.
Yep.
From Gatsby. And then.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
Darn, autocomplete.
Yeah. And then we wanted to export the query itself.
And this is actually going to be a little bit different. So that query, if you go back and look at the syntax, that query is going to go inside of the templated tag.
Yeah. GraphQL, template string.
Yep.
Okay. Then there. Wait,
something. And then you also need the word query too.
Oh, in here.
At the beginning of your string.
And this should be data, right? Or no?
I don't think that it matters.
Oh.
I call it data so that it matches the data prop.
Let me just see what you said.
I don't know what it's going to do. Let's
You just said export const query equals.
Yeah, let's try it. Try naming it query instead, because I think that it'll still get passed in as a data prop even though you called it query, but I'm not 100%. I haven't thought to test it. So now we will. We're doing it live.
Yeah. So I have to pass in the data prop here.
Yeah, so this is just saying like take the data prop that gets passed into my component, and now you can console log that at the top there. Yeah, like on line 6. Perfect. And then we can just see what's in there.
All right, let's take a look. So here, well, let me just refresh.
I'm not sure if you'll have to restart it or not.
Let's see. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. There's an object here.
Log. Great. All file nodes. Yeah. And then there they are in our little array.
Okay.
Huzzah.
Yeah. So I didn't need to start it. Okay.
So now we're going to render this. We're going to take this information and we're going to render it in our page.
Here.
So because this is a list, we can replace, we can just replace that whole line 9. We probably don't even need the p tag anymore because we can just do a list instead.
Okay.
So we can do a UL.
Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. So, and then just some. Okay, we'll do the iteration now, and then.
Yeah. So now what we're gonna do. This is a React thing. You're going to map over the array. So map over our like nodes array. And then for each node, for each one of those like name objects, you're going to return some JSX for how you want to render that data. So we're going to, we have to first drill down to the field that we want. So wrap that up. And then we don't want to map over data. This map thing is it's an array method that comes from JavaScript. Let me grab array map MDN. I'll just drop a link to that.
Yeah, because data is an object. So yeah, okay.
Yeah. So we need to get to the array. So the array is going to be data.allFile.
Okay. All file.
Yep.
Nodes. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So that's going to give us like for each of the nodes, each of the objects inside of nodes, inside the nodes array, we are going to run this function, which we want to return the JSX for how to render that list item.
Yeah, so we will render node.name.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
And then one other thing that we'll see. Let's run this first and see that it does what we are expecting.
Well, there it is.
Ta-da! Cool.
Yeah.
And actually, if you open your DevTools one more time, yeah, let's look in the console because it should give you a warning.
Yeah.
About So this is a React thing. Every child in a list should have a unique key prop. So React uses that key prop to see like when it needs to re-render stuff. It just helps it keep track of which items in the list are which, so that it can re-render things more efficiently. So to do that, we can add to the LI.
And you just want to use the name for now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as it's something unique.
Yeah.
You could use that. You could use like an ID.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to use the index, like the position within the array. Yeah. But rather like something that's tied to the object itself.
Right. So yeah, we could query for the ID and then add it here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now if we go back to your page,
and refresh.
I think that warning should go away.
Yeah,
Ta-da!
Yeah.
Great. Love fewer warnings.
Yes. Okay. Nice.
Yeah. And we did it. That went faster than I thought it was going to. So now,
cool.
I guess now that we've done all of that, let's take a step back, and I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit, and I'm gonna ask you some like questions just to recap what we have learned so far.
All right.
Okay. So how do you get data into the data layer?
By using plugins. So in our case, we used gatsby-source-filesystem.
Nice.
But in general, you use plugins. So to your CMS, to a database, whatever. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. That's exactly what I was looking for. So if you go, I guess I'll plug the plugins library.
Yeah, because we have plenty, and we have a lot of contributors, which we are thankful for. Namaste.
We do.
Yeah.
And actually, let me share. I'm going to share my screen real fast. So if you look at this is gatsbyjs.com/plugins. I'm going to drop that in the chat. If you want to see what different source plugins we have, you can scroll down here. There's some listed here. There's also, you can just search Gatsby source, and that's the naming convention for all of our source plugins. And then you can just like scroll through here and see what all you got.
Nice.
And then, okay, cool. And then the next question is, how do you see what data is in your data layer?
By using GraphiQL, which is GraphQL's browser-based user interface. That isn't a Gatsby thing, but we added it to our framework.
Yeah,
right. It's
perfect.
It's a graphical thing. Okay.
And how do you? What's the URL for that? How do you get to GraphiQL?
Localhost 8:8000 / GraphQL.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, why triple? Why not double? Never, maybe.
I don't know. Just one more for safety.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Great. So now we've got data in the data layer. We can see it. How do you get it back out?
By querying GraphQL and then adding it to your page, your component, or your page, wherever you're supposed to do it.
Nice. Perfect. Yeah. And then bonus question, how do you, like, what is the difference between querying for data in a page component and in a building block component? Like, what do you do in each?
I wonder, yeah, I think it might be too long for someone in the chat to type out, but yeah, so for a building block component, the query is inside the component. And for the page component, it queries outside, and you don't even give it a name. It knows it automatically is a data prop or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So for building block components, you'll use useStaticQuery, that hook.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then for a page query, you're right. You export it outside of your component, and then Gatsby will automatically take the data from the response and inject it into your component as a data prop.
Cool.
Well done.
Yeah,
Pop
learned
quiz.
A lot.
Yeah, great job.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna take a look at the chat and see what other questions we have. John Hansen, artist. Gatsby gives ID to almost everything in the GraphQL data layer. Great for the key.
Yeah. So in theory, I could add, I know it's called ID in the query, and so I could do know that ID here. And in theory, it should, let's see. Let me see if I.
Yeah, actually, if you inspect it, does it?
Yeah, well, here's the ID.
Sweet.
Because we still, so.
Yeah. If you inspect the like DOM element, do you see the key show up there? I guess not.
No.
I guess it's just a React thing.
Yeah.
You might be able to see it in the React Dev tools, but that's fine.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if I have it on this. I didn't install it on mine yet. Cool. Yeah.
And then Freud Plays says, how hard would it be to send stuff to the data layer using JavaScript? Are you asking like to build your own source plugin? Because all of the source plugins are written in JavaScript, I think. Maybe not. Maybe that's not true.
Do you need a plugin to send the layer? I think, can you just send it directly to GraphQL?
I don't know.
Without a plugin?
I haven't tried making my own plugin.
I think in the pure React, like if you're using React, because there's no plugins, you do send it. No, actually, forget I even said that. I'm thinking out loud. Yeah. But
yeah, I'm looking up a doc. I know that we've got a doc on creating source plugins.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a how-to guide called Creating a Source Plugin. And that'll talk more about how to like get stuff into the data layer. I don't know if you can do that outside of a source plugin or not. I've never tried, but if you do try, let me know how it goes.
Yeah, me too. I'm curious.
Yeah. Is there a way to see a query using dev tools of a built site? There might be. I think this is where we're getting to the boundaries of my knowledge. I think if you go and inspect, is it the network tab? I think there's like an object somewhere that I'm pretty sure has the result of your query. I don't know if it just happens on dev servers or if it happens on
on build.
Yeah, on prod builds too. If you, let's see, go to the network tab and then refresh your page.
Okay, let me turn that off. Okay.
Yeah, so see, there's this app data and page data JSON. One of them, I think, has, maybe not that one, maybe page data.
Yeah.
Maybe the other page data.
Yeah, here we go.
Well,
it's the result though, not the actual query.
Yeah, it doesn't have the query, but it shows you the stuff in it. So there's that. If you want to poke around and see what people are doing. I don't know if that's going to show up on a prod build though. We can try it. Let's see. It should be fast. It's a small site.
Yeah. So
the other thing that we have to do too is commit this and push it to our site on Gatsby Cloud.
I did while
you did. So speedy. Teamwork.
I just always afraid of not committing, forgetting.
I feel that.
So I'm doing the prod now. We'll see, which should show up at localhost 9000. Okay, let's see. So you were looking at the network tab, right? To see. Okay, let's see. All right, there's page data. I don't know which one, but okay, nothing there. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's there. Same one.
So go poke around in people's sites.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I will poke around in people's sites. That's actually what I do. I get paid to do that. So I'll do that. Yeah. Cool.
Sweet. Well, if there are no other questions in the chat, thank you all for joining and for asking great questions, challenging us and helping us think about stuff.
Yeah.
And thanks, Generosa, for coming on and being my guinea pig, as always.
Thank you for having me. I really wanted to make this one. And Kirsten, thank
Freud
you.
Plays says no. My question. What question? How hard would it be? How hard would it be to send stuff to the data layer using JavaScript? I don't know. Making a CMS, so wondering how to store data from it. I would say check out that source plugin, creating a source plugin page.
He's actually making a CMS?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Wow. You're so brave.
Yeah. I know that sounds hard, but I believe in you.
Yeah. Go do it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a great answer. But good luck.
Yeah.
Let us know when it's done and we can make a source plugin.
Yeah. Could be part of our family.
Sweet.
Cool.
Okay.
Great.
So yeah, this was part 4. In part 5, so 2 weeks from now, we'll talk more about the data layer in greater detail. So we'll talk about MDX. We'll talk about something called transformer plugins. So how do you manipulate data once it's in the data layer? Yeah, it'll be a fun time. And we'll get closer to building our blog site.
And Kirsten's going to be with you because I'm going to be
Kirsten will
under
be
the sea.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, have a good one, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Adios.